everyone, this is Jai from Couch and Keyboard, and here I am again with another player profile about one of the players that made it in to Full House Siege earlier this year, an invitational that is happening in about a month. So I'm going to go over Soonsay. Now, Soonsay has become one of the more well-known foxes, which to some people it's like, ugh, fox, whatever, they're everywhere. And yeah, fox is very common. But I think Soonsay has really made a name for himself and has become one of the best in the world and stylistically very unique as well. Soonsay started in about 2016 from what I can tell, and notably from Alberta. Now, some people don't really know much about Canada, especially in the United States. It's just like, oh, up there, Canada, you're all pretty close, right? Well, if you look at the map, Alberta's like right here above Montana, and I believe specifically from Calgary, but very spread out. And I think people don't really understand it because usually a United States map doesn't really include all these parts. So like Toronto and a lot of other places in Ontario are very close. You have Montreal and Quebec. You have Vancouver in British Columbia, and a few other places here and there. But Alberta is kind of like not that close. I saw it was like, I think an 11-hour drive to Seattle. I think it was easier to get to LA than it was to get to Toronto by drive. I think it was like 22 hours compared to like 32 hours. Calgary to Toronto is a very long way. And Toronto has been like the strongest smash part of Canada for a while now. So other places are catching up. Like Vancouver, it has become, like British Columbia has become pretty strong for Ultimate. And starting to get there with Melee as well, along with the Pacific Northwest, kind of like that sub-region here. Even just normal region, honestly. But Alberta is like, when Soonsay got started, Battle of BC wasn't really that big, if it was even a thing at all. Like, it was pretty small. And then also getting a passport to come to America was sometimes challenging. So you had to go all the way over here to Toronto, and that is a long way. So sometimes people would just stay. I mean, yesterday I was working on a Mewtwo video, and one of the players was from Montreal area. And like, yeah, you have New England up here, kinda, but it's not like, it takes a bit to travel. I mean, I look at how small Virginia is, and it's hard to travel in Virginia, where I am currently. I can only imagine. Like, it's tough. So a lot of times you have people very isolated, and you're not going to have a ton of opportunities, so you have to make them count. So not doing anything that crazy first few years. You see some of these where it's like Quaff, Kevbot, Mateo, Zuppy, like Jam Run. These are like, I think before these players got super good, or at least before they got to be able to travel. But 2019 is when Soonsay really started to come out a little bit. Did get top 100 by getting 98. We go to some of the results here. In 2019, got 25th at Gommel, got 17th at Full Bloom. Did get a win on Reeve, so that was solid there. And yeah, 17th at SmashCon, that's pretty good. And lost to Rishi very early. Or I guess it's all out of order, excuse me. Sometimes they do out of order, it throws me off. Beat Real Thing, that's pretty solid. 49th at Big House 9, nothing too crazy. EGLX became a pretty big tournament. Beat Ryan Ford. Ryan Ford was kind of like the old guard of Canada Fox. There's a few others, but Ryan Ford was probably the most consistent. And so Moki was on the rise, but Soonsay not far behind. And so Soonsay was doing pretty good, starting to get a pretty good ascent going into the next century. But then, of course, COVID happened. And I think this was actually a good opportunity for Soonsay. Not necessarily because of COVID and having to be online, but if you have to travel a lot, it's kind of a level playing field. And so where everyone's eyes, because I mean you can play online anyway, but Slippy came out, and everyone's eyes are on Slippy. So I really started. I'm sure I scrolled by the rankings and saw Soonsay like I did every year, just seeing, but nothing really popped out. But Smash Summit 10, the online version, people knew about Soonsay. Making it to final bracket, we had 4 pools of 5 round robin, which flaw sometimes, but this was still good. This was still high profile, lots of sets, good stuff. Now, if you look at 1 and 3, that doesn't seem that good, but I mean, took None and Hungry Box to game 5, beat Face Roll, and also took a game off of Poopiu, who is very, very experienced in the Marth Fox matchup. So, Soonsay was, and people did not really know about Soonsay. Soonsay got into the bracket, but people did not really know him. Now, if you want to say that beating H-Box is not a huge deal, sure. I mean, H-Box did do very well. The only player to take him in Game 5 was Soonsay, and H-Box was still H-Box. It's not like yeah, he was easier to beat. But also, like, None is very good. Took both of them to Game 5, and, like, narrow Game 5. And so then, final bracket, Soonsay beats Axe, and then gets 9th to taking a game off of S2J. Very, very impressive. Now, Axe also struggled online, so you can say, oh, Mickey Mouse results, like, it doesn't really matter. Sure. Either way, people became aware about Soonsay. It's like, whether you agree with this atmosphere for how competitive this is very impressive for Soonsay to be able to do. And so, Soonsay would enter online some, but then, doing fine here and there. If we focus only on offline, we have, also did pretty good at, I believe, Genesis. Or, this might have been a smaller Canadian tournament. I'm trying to think when 2020 they played. Okay, so they played at some Toronto tournament, and Soonsay was able to beat Moki twice. So good stuff there. Starting to do good against, pretty much the top 3 Canadian players at the time. Doing very solidly. And then, a few sets, we started to come back at the end of 2021. Daki, really good, Pacific Northwest. Fox, the weapon, a.k.a. Elliot, very good Falco. Excuse me. And then, look at all these yellows, like all these ranked wins. Absolutely crazy. So, 2022 became a very good year. Now, entered some stuff, like didn't do too great at Emerald City, which is like, oh, lost to Aura. Okay, but like Aura wasn't super established at the time, like didn't travel a ton. So it didn't like look the best. But Battle of BC, this was like, Battle BC 4 was when it started to become like more of a recognized tournament. And beat S2J. Now, S2J was starting to get a little bit, not as strong, but also beat Lucky, beat Iron, beat Yingling. Like, these were good results. And so was able to do pretty well there, getting top 8. Gommel didn't do too hot. Lost to Smash Poppy. And then got a few good wins. Did lose to AMSA, because AMSA got upset pretty early. That happens. Like, excuse me. Like, sometimes you just lose early. But sometimes you go for a big run. And you get an upset factor of 6 against Leffen. This was crazy. I mean, Leffen has been good at the Fox Ditto for a long time. Well-established Fox main. Best Fox in the world for a lot of years. And, the 37th seed comes down from Alberta, Canada. 3-1 them. Beats S2J again, beats Pipsqueak, who was another Swedish Fox. That was very good in the Ditto. Lost to AMSA again, lost to Zane. Zane's very good in the matchup. 5th place, incredible. And then did pretty good at LSI. Beat Lucky and Salt. This LCQ also happened previously. Did lose to Spud, but was able to still qualify, beating Triff. People really thought Soonsay was like very favored to do well here in the LCQ. So the Spud loss wasn't great, but still was able to do fine. Went to 2-3 in the uh, Swiss stage. Did lose to SUJ in that run back there, but still very good performance. I think people expected him to do it, and he didn't quite do what he potentially could have, but his potential is so big, so it's still good. Now, Smash Summit 14, he beats Leffen again. I think this was like kind of like a Morse code thing, where it's like, okay, you've seen it once before. Is it a fluke or will it happen again? Was not a fluke. Also beat Pipsqueak in the same tournament. So he was just eating the Swedish foxes for breakfast. Also beat Kadoran. The second best Marth at the time. Lost to Zane and Jmook. That's fine. Like, Mango, Zane, and Jmook losses to get ninth is kind of brutal. I mean, like, you have a different bracket and you probably do much better there. And then went to small events. Lost to Moki, beat Zuppy. Kind of standard Canadian stuff. 2022 gets ranked 22nd. Very good. 2023, a lot of the same. If we look at some of the wins here, didn't get those two Leffen wins like he did. But Moki got better, and so beating Moki was more valuable. And I mean, they played a few times. A lot of times, like even though they were far apart, they were you didn't have to. It wasn't as difficult to travel. So if you're flying, it's easier to fly in country than out of country. So and Canadians try to support each other. So Soonsay and Moki would play a decent bit. But yeah, so Soonsay getting a win on Moki, win on Laud, Salt, a bunch of Josh Man, very good. And Egg Money was, I believe, actually also Alberta. So this was a valuable experience, as we can see here. This was a tournament held in 2025 that was pretty big across Melee Ultimate and some fighting games. Soonsay, of course, won, but Egg Money took it to Game 5. I've heard of Venison, I've heard of Quaff. Starting to get up there, starting to get better, and I think that, like, if you're a top player in a more secluded region, like, Soonsay doesn't attend that much, but just doing something occasionally can really give people a lot of, like, motivation. And just seeing, like, Soonsay was dropping games, I think that's a good sign for the other players. Like, you should want to have better practice. Now, Slippy means that you don't always have to get the local practice, but it is nice. I think it's good to have an offline community. But yeah, so 2023 got fifth at major upset. This is a big deal. Beat Laud, Chango, Aura, losing to Plup and Amsa. Like, yeah, that's pretty fair. Battle BC, another good Canadian results, beating Moki there. Lost to Amsa again. We see that Amsa is, a little bit discouraging. So one thing about Soonsay is that sometimes he just loses to mid-tiers. And that does happen to a decent amount of people. But we see Lunar Dusk and Quang, aka Kyle Micnator, Complete Cylinder, however you want to say it. This was some early losses. As the 14th seed, getting 25th, that's not terrible. But we definitely had high expectations of Soonsay at the time. So a little disappointing. 33rd at Big House did not quite repeat the success, which losses and peaches with Samaris and Polis. Samaris doing pretty good, eventually getting that Mango win. But yeah. And so 2023, nothing too crazy. Like, again, got ranked similarly because the Moki win looked better. So sometimes you benefit off of who you play and they do better, so your win looks better. But yeah, 2024, again, another mid-tier loss, which this was like prime DK hours. Like, the Wustoons doc had come out. Like, DK was really starting to do well. So here, switching off of Marth Sheik, I believe, and going DK was a good move, it turns out. And Soonsay didn't do a great job there. Did get ninth, thanks to, pretty big win, beating Cody Swab in the Fox Ditto, no big deal. Soonsay became surgical in the Fox Ditto. I mean, a win on Cody and Cody was beating pretty much every fox almost every time is very, very impressive. Like, yeah, Milky would sometimes sneak a few. Josh Min started to do better. But, I mean, this was a big deal. And it wasn't just like Leffen, like, or, the Swedish Foxes. Like, being able to beat the 1 seed was a huge deal. And did lose to Mango and Salt. Sometimes uh, they call it a blue shell upset, where you get one and then you lose two right after. Sometimes it just kind of helps everyone else more than it helps you. But, I mean, that win is still a big deal. Also, this was pretty big as well. Now, some people are like, okay, this doesn't really count that much. But Soonsay did technically beat Zayn at a pretty established SoCal weekly / monthly on a Thursday night, I think. So I think that this is worth counting. I don't think you need to because it was high production, they got several top players. I think it's a big deal enough to count it. So, this win was a big deal. And, I mean, Soonsay beating Cody and Zayn very close to each other within, a month. Big deal. Also, Pat's House doing very well, getting Axe, Lucky Meds, losing to the two players he'd already beaten, but taking at least one game off of both of them. Soonsay was becoming a legitimate threat. And if we look here on the summer ranking, did get in the top 10 at one point. Got 9th in the summer. Did not quite end in the top 10, but very strong. We see the wins. I mean, this looks incredible. You beat 1, 2, 4, and 5. Yeah, maybe that you don't count the 1 that much, but this is very, very good. And now there were some losses that kind of took away, but I mean, Soonsay had a really solid year, and I think probably Don't Park that year is kind of what caused Soonsay to go down, because you had Josh Mann and Nikki, you had all these really wild runs that had happened. I mean, Aklo had this. I think it was the third quarter where Aklo was going really crazy, and it the end of this year was just really wild. So I think it was a ton of chaos in front of everyone's mind. Soonsay kind of just got bumped down a little bit. But not because Soonsay had a bad year. I think if you look at the individual wins, this is one of the best years that anyone had, just in terms of top wins. But I think consistency and getting kind of filling out some of the 10 to 20 wins, I think is also important. Not just getting that one. You have to have consistency, longevity, all that kind of stuff. But still very impressive. And then more recently, we saw getting 13th for the end of the year 2024, and then both in the summer and then end of the year for 2025. So I'm sure he wants to get out of that unlucky 13, which 13th in the world, that's still very good. I'm sure people would want to be 13 if he didn't like it anymore. But yeah, and just continue to enter, doing pretty good. Did well at Eggdog Invitational. Excuse me. Oh, this was it says 4th here. This was because of the Gauntlet Melee Open. Did good here. Was the 1 seed and got second. Has a pretty long history with SUJ, but and then beat Lowercase Hero to get into the bracket and then lost. So okay, not as good as it could have been, but still very good. And losing to Cody and Wizrobe to get 17th, that's tough. But yeah, still doing good. This SoCal Star League, I was watching this. Lost to some Mars. That was unfortunate. He got a, Koopa Thanos or whatever they call it. But started to, not do, Don't Park here, didn't do great. Let's Make Moves, Miami, did pretty solid. Got a J-Mook win there. That's good. And then this Now Invitational did get an Aklo win. That's good. Aklo had kind of been one of the few foxes that could beat Cody in the Ditto for a while. And so getting that Aklo win was very good. Also taking games against a lot of players. This was, that's Soonsay, where it's he doesn't get 3-0'd very often. To where, Soonsay is normally able to kind of stay with a player and then, force a game 4, force a game 5, and see what happens. Genesis, you know, sometimes lose to Peaches and lose to Mintiers. That does happen sometimes. Ninth at Battle of BC. Beating Moki and Withrow back to back. That's very good. Nouns Bowl, not too hot. Lost to Dreffin. But, like, just showing that he can do good. Like, lost to J2 and then went on this pretty crazy run here, beating BZ, Nunn, Jmook, Moki, Ossify, barely losing to Lod for top 8. That's still very good. And so, yeah, we just go through this. And then this tournament was actually pretty interesting with Slug, Joshman, and Soonsay. Was able to win. That was pretty cool. Now, Invitational did finally get that AMSA win. That was a big deal. We saw that this was actually a few months before. So I think getting challenged in this matchup potentially helped Soonsay to get that AMSA win finally. And most recently, got third at the last Genesis. Kind of benefited off of some upsets, but still, you know, beat HBox. And HBox was top 3 undisputed last year. Like, there's no one that close, like 4 and 5, like Josh Minamoki. We're not that close to HBox. So getting this HBox win, finally getting into it, inspired my who has beaten the top 3 video. Soonsay was the most recent member. This upset was a big deal. Triff was easier than Cody would have been, but has beaten Cody before. And then lost to Cody game 5, the eventual winner, lost to Jmook. Very good. And so Soonsay from this did qualify into Full House. And let's go ahead and look at the data that I collected. And we have a lot of red for Soonsay. Red means losing, blue means they haven't played, yellow means tied, green means a winning record. But is not winless against any of these players besides the Luigi's that he hasn't played. So I think has the potential to beat pretty much anyone. Like, yeah, 1-12 against Zane, not a good look, but it's not 0-12. And I think that Soonsay, you know, the last one was in 2024, so like there's been the SFAT-esque streak. I do think is very possible for Soonsay to beat a lot of people. I did add some place predictions, so I'd already done these 3 videos and Soonsay. So I think that Wizzy and RapM will get 5th. I do think Aura and Soonsay will get 9th. But I think Soonsay might struggle against Rap Monster. I think that would be a difficult matchup. I think Aura could potentially be a tough matchup. But I mean, I think that Soonsay would want to have a Fox Ditto. Also beaten Jmook a few times. So I think that Soonsay could definitely place higher. That's kind of just what I'm feeling right now. But yeah, we will have to see. Has pretty good records recently. Like positive on Moki, positive on Magi, positive on Nunn, positive on Wizzy. Has taken a recent set against Aura, positive on Dark Gen X. Like, I do think Soonsay has a lot of potential to do well at this event. I do think that it is a surprisingly stacked event because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 9. So 7 of the top 10, and then you have someone who just beat number 1. You have someone who has beaten number 2 before. Former top 10, and former top 10, top 20 who's beaten number 1 before. And has Magi beaten Cody? I guess I'll have to check whenever I do that next. This is a stacked event. And so Soonsay getting 9th. We've seen Soonsay like do well and then kind of just get shafted in final bracket. We'll have to see. But I do really like Soonsay. And Matt Damon himself, we'll see if he can press some buttons. So yeah, stay tuned for our next player profile of someone else in Full House. See you next time.